This ultimate mouth-watering moment is brought to you by the big, bold, ultimate taste of Ultimate Chicken Hot Dogs, only from Maple Lodge Farms.
In the 2021 Canadian Championship, the first ever meeting between Pacific FC of the Canadian Premier League and their big brothers from the mainland, the Vancouver Whitecaps of Major League Soccer.
It's goal. He's got one back. He's got his second. Going to be in the back of the net. It is. It's Guerrero Diaz. And Irving saves, and Dahomey slots in the rebound. And the referee says that'll do. It's the final action. What an incredible cup tie.
It's a 3-on-2 for the Whitecaps. For Grasso, first time. Whoa! Out of nothing, it's a second for the Whitecaps. Aliam at the left back. To the middle and releases under pressure from the north. In for Betcher, turning, firing, and sending Vancouver to the Canadian Championship final.
It's time to head out west for the second of our doubleheader tonight at the TELUS Canadian Championship. These two rivals, Pacific FC and Vancouver Whitecaps, meet once again in the semifinals. It's the third overall meeting between these two sides, but the first time in a home and away. Pacific are a strong defensive side. Can they hold off the likes of Brian White and Ryan Gauld? Well, the action continues right here on One Soccer. Welcome back inside our studio. Welcome to the crew who's just joining us now. Andy Petrillo, Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson. Yes, we've been here since 6:30 p.m. ET because this is what it's all about. This is the quest for the Voyageurs Cup. The earlier game saw a big upset. Forge FC defeating Toronto FC 2-1. TFC facing tough competition in this tournament for the first time. They'll have some work to do in the second leg, August 27th. And for the third time in 4 years, Pacific and Vancouver meet. Second year in a row, they meet in the semifinal. As you saw as we walked down memory lane just a little bit there, 2021, big win for Pacific FC over the Vancouver Whitecaps. First time the CPL side defeated an MLS side. That actually led to Vancouver making a coaching change. Hence, we have Vanni Sartini. But last year, decisive win for Vancouver, 3-0, the final en route to winning the Voyageurs Cup. Do you think Pacific, though, is good for another upset this year?
I mean, this is a totally different Pacific side because I think that year when they played, I know that year, they had a lot of attacking players. They had a lot of players that could score. They even scored 4 on the night against Vancouver FC. I could bet my bottom dollar, I'm not rich, that's probably $5, that they're not scoring 4 goals tonight. This is a team in the Canadian Premier League that defends wheels. They defend with all that they have. They beat teams 1-0. They do not score many goals. So tonight, that is going to be the recipe. They're not going to play much different against the Vancouver Whitecaps. They're going to hold on. They're going to have the moments where they retain the ball. But they're just a defensive-minded team. And if they're going to gain any success, it's just going to be from that solidity in the back.
A lot of players have turned over since that 2021 game. McNaughton, Aparicio, Didic, a lot of Guerrero Diaz, they've all moved on. That's the strangest thing about this Pacific side this season. 12 goals scored, only 10 conceded in 13 games across the Canadian Premier League. This was a team year after year was one of the most thrilling, breathtaking, attacking footballing sides in the Canadian Premier League. Now they're rigid, they're disciplined, they're pragmatic. They've lost players, not only with Didic and Aparicio leaving in the offseason. Ali Dom came in, looked really, really good, and he's out for the season for injury. So it's been a next man up mentality. It's worked for them so far. They're coming off a 1-0 victory away at the top of the table, Atletico Ottawa on the weekend as well. They're just down a certain number of players right now due to injury that makes tonight's game that much more difficult for them.
And Andy, the only thing I have to add is last season they had the same problem. They couldn't really score, and their attack was they were shifting around. James Merriman was putting different players. They were inconsistent. But this Pacific FC in 2024, they're hard to beat. They don't mind a little blood. They don't mind getting their hands dirty. They don't mind putting their body on the line. I hope they can take that mentality into this game tonight.
Well, they're going to have to, because Vancouver Whitecaps, they are absolutely no slouch, sitting in a playoff position right now in MLS action, and they're playing so much better away from home. 4 times they've won on the road. They've picked up points in 7 of their 9 games away from home as well. Are they the favorite to win the 3rd Voyageurs Cup in a row?
Well, absolutely, for many reasons. One, they take this tournament seriously.
Yeah.
And speaking with Vanni Sartini, he thinks that there maybe was a little bit too much rotation against Cavalry, and tonight's starting 11 much too serious. Remember, they lost to Cavalry in their last game at home.
Yeah.
They advanced by virtue of a 2-1 win, 2 good goals. One was a gift. One was brilliant by Levante Johnson to punch their ticket to the next round of this competition. I do think that finally they've run into a little bit of a stretch of good form. They took a 1-0 lead on CF Montreal on the weekend, ended up giving away a goal. Stade Saputo is a difficult place to go, but Brian White, Ryan Gauld have really come into their own. Kubas is such a solid figure in the midfield. Still really missing Sam Adekubi, who's been out for a frustratingly long period of time, but they do have some pieces. Are they the complete article, Andy? I don't think so, but for me, it's a team moving in the right direction.
The 3-peat could easily be on the horizon. This is the team to beat in this competition, without question. 3 years. What I will also add to Wheels' point, which I'll agree with, is just the versatility within this side. Like, you'll see even players tonight, they play different positions all the time, but Vanni Sartini has them all just pushing for that badge, whether it's playing in the midfield, playing on the wing. They all are contributing for this purpose. But this is that 3-peat that you need, because if you get this in a season, it's a successful season. Everything else almost seems like an add-on to that.
Yeah, I just feel the season has been good, not great. But you want to be great August, September, October, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're fine right now. Now it's time to step things up.
Well, I'm sure Pacific, as we take a look at their starting 11, don't want to see Vancouver peaking right now at the moment, because we did talk about their firepower. However, as you did mention there, Wheels, Pacific has been great defensively in 13 league games. 10 goals against. And the young Emil Gazov will be called upon again in goal for them. Head coach James Merriman caught up earlier with our Christian Jack.
James, special day for this province with the sport here. Obviously, the Whitecaps against Pacific for a 3rd time. You're on the bench for both the other 2 occasions. What did your team learn from those nights that you can help you tonight?
We need to lean on the players that were in the squad in those games, the experience that we gained. We spoke about 3 things. The first one is to be humble, to make sure that we do the work that's required and do extra, be willing to do extra, to be willing to sacrifice. We need to be incredibly disciplined in our match plan in all moments of the game. And then at the end, we spoke about belief and play with confidence and attack the game, with a fearless approach.
You mentioned your players. One of them is Emil Gazov, a 20-year-old goalkeeper, one of 7 players in your squad that has been connected to the Whitecaps in the past. He's had a phenomenal season. What do you expect from him tonight in a big occasion for him?
Yeah, these are the games that he wants. He wants to prove himself. He has a really strong inner belief and confidence, as do we as a club. We've given him these opportunities. We've given him chances. We believe in his potential, and tonight's a huge opportunity for him to prove himself in a game like this on this stage.
Defensively, your team has been excellent this season, but just 15 goals in 16 games. I want to ask you about Ayman Salouf. He's on the bench tonight in your 11. What can you expect from him as he comes back from a hip flexor? How much minutes do you think you've got out of him?
I think we need to see which way the game goes and where we're at in the second half. But we know the quality that he brings. We know he allows us to breathe with the ball. He does a great job taking care of the ball and get us into the attacking half, and maybe that's what we need in those moments. But we know that he can cause problems as well, and so Rion and Josh will get us started, and Stephen Yates has a bit of a free role, and then there'll be space and a time for Ayman to come in and hopefully make a difference in the game.
A full house on a gorgeous night. Enjoy it.
Thank you, KJ. Cheers.
Polar opposites from the earlier game, where it was just a downpour, nice and sunny, of course, there on the island. Let's talk a little Josh Hurd.
Yeah, you heard me. Josh, he's built for this competition. It hasn't been his best season. The captain of Pacific this year, just 1 goal in 12 games, was rested on the weekend, I think with eyes for this one here.
Oh, you know it.
He scored 3 goals in 10 Canadian Championship games, big goals as well. Back in 2021, a goal and assist in that 4-3 victory over the Whitecaps. Maybe the best game I've ever seen him play.
He balled out.
And scored the match winner against Atletico Ottawa in the previous round of this competition. So he's playing up top with Rion Moore. The graphic, I'm not sure if it was spot on because it's going to be Yates playing in behind him. But if you're going to keep that back line honest, Josh Hurd's going to have to play a big role in that tonight.
Local guy, leader, you expect big things from him. And, he always shows up for Pacific when they really need him. Someone we want to focus on for me is a 26-year-old Thomas Mia-Jaguar. He was a sub in that match of 4-3 when they beat Vancouver Whitecaps. He's won the Canadian Premier League Cup. He's had different partners, Wheels. He had to have the McNaughton next to him when he played on the left side a few years back. He's had Amir Didic next to him. He started the season, I thought they're the best pair in the Canadian Premier League with Endom that you mentioned earlier. But this is a guy who's been tried and true for Pacific and has stepped up. We explained that they're a defensive team. We explained that's what they pride themselves on, as being hard-nosed. He's the leader of that, with his posture, with the way that he commands attention. But he needs to be on his best behavior tonight if they want to be successful.
He just played his 100th game for the club just
baby.
a couple weeks ago. So he's the rock. He's the stability. It's a very young team. Quintana is center back partner, the Colombian, 20 years of age. So you're going to need the leadership of Mia-Jaguar tonight to deal with some difficult moments that the Whitecaps will throw their way.
Oh, I'm sure they will as we take a look at Vancouver starting 11. Now, Vancouver Whitecaps also struggling here tonight to field 3 Canadians. Injuries, of course, and national team duty have left them in a bit of a tight spot. So we have 22-year-old Isaac Boehmer starting in net for his first MLS game since 2022. Ralph Prizo, Levante Johnson will round out the Canadians. Here's their head coach, Vanni Sartini, with KJ.
Vanni, the 8th time that you've managed a team against CPL opposition, you're 5-1-1 in those matches. What did you learn from those games that can help you tonight?
That we need to start well. We need to start with the right foot. We need to be very intense from the beginning, set the tone, and we need to be focused on every ball, because if we let the momentum go on their side, it's going to be hard.
You already have 18 points away from home in MLS. That matches 2023's total. What have you liked from your side away from home so far in 2024?
I think this year we've been very good at being compact defensively. Have been very hard to break in a lot of times. So that allow us to, do the thing that we like, so counter and be very direct when we have the ball. We need to do the same today. We don't have to be crazy, try to press them from minute one man to man, but be very focused on defending the space and trying to frustrate them, having the ball more than them, and then counterattack.
You've picked an extremely strong 11, including obviously Ryan Gold, who has 17 goal contributions in the league play, and Brian White, 5 goals in his last 3. What do you like about those two when they can combine together?
Yeah, the Ryan and Brian has been fantastic. They've been fantastic in the 3 years they coached them together. The way that they play off each other, the way that they complement each other on the field, and also the main quality, the way that they work off the ball, doing everything that the team needs tactically, helps a lot the team. And, the fact that we play the strongest 11 is also, I'm going to be honest, this is the most important game that we have in July. We are 3 games away from winning another cup. And, this is, I think, more important than any MLS game of this month. In August, the most important game will be the second leg, and hopefully in September will be the final.
Very well said. Should be a special night, my friend. Enjoy it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
MLS coach coming out and saying how much this matters and how it's the most important game he's going to play in July. And I don't mean to be hyperbolic here, but in the past we have had this discussion where a lot of the MLS clubs have to focus on MLS play. And they haven't always necessarily fielded their strongest players in the Can Champ. I feel like that's changing. And I love that Vanni Sartini is also coming out and being very vocal about that. What about Brian White? He's got a weapon on that team alongside Ryan Gold. The Brian and the Ryan.
The way he said it was super uber Italian, right?
Yeah, it's white gold. Go with white gold.
Brian and Ryan. But look, Brian White played against this guy, still have nightmares. 10 and 20 he scored, but 5 in the last 3. He's heating up. This is the time. Last season, the Gold and the Brian White connection was dynamite for Vancouver, and it just ended up a little bit short at the end of the season. But he's heating up, and he's the guy that's going to cause everyone havoc when he plays against them, specifically tonight. If you're TMG, if you're Quintana, he's someone you need to know where they are at all times, because it doesn't take much for him to score goals. Wheels.
Yeah, was player of the match day in match day 24 in Major League Soccer. I'm watching the man in the midfield, Andreas Kubas. For me, one of the unsung heroes. Like, this player should be a star across Major League Soccer. It's partly because of his position that he maybe doesn't get the notoriety. Also, maybe because he plays for a Canadian team in the American League that he doesn't get his notoriety.
Ding, ding, ding.
But the Paraguayan International, like, he makes this team tick. He makes every single player in and around him better. He brings stability to this group. Vancouver, 2 wins, a draw, and 3 losses without him. Those 2 wins came against St. Louis, who are having a nightmare, and Minnesota, who were missing like half their squad when they played him. So they need Cubas. He's back, played on the weekend after participating in Copa America. He can boss that midfield. It's a huge challenge for these young Canadians playing on Pacific, playing against him tonight.
Yep. All right, there we go, taking you through the lineups. We're getting you set for the second of our doubleheader here on One Soccer in the TELUS Canadian Championship. Pacific FC hosting Vancouver FC. When we come back, we'll head inside Starlight Stadium in Langford, BC. Christian Jack checks in with how the city is embracing the tournament.
Toyota's electrified vehicles are for everyone. Every chauffeur, snack connoisseur, every scenery soaker, practical joker, every road tripper, toe dipper, every 9-to-5er, every long driver. Starting over 20 years ago with the Prius, we now have the largest lineup of electrified vehicles in Canada because this journey belongs to everyone.
Life's better with extra space. Space for family. Space for memories. Space for you. Try 4 weeks free. Sentinel Storage, proud partner of Canada Soccer.
To play. It's something that's in us from the very beginning, and something we take with us on every step of the journey. When we have no words, it gives us a way to speak. When we are still finding our way in the world, it gives us somewhere to belong. And no matter who we are or where we come from, it gives us the right to dream.
Christine Sinclair as she scores at her 5th World Cup. Alfonso Davies!
It's time to celebrate the game we love. It's time to play.
Second year in a row, Pacific FC Vancouver Whitecaps meet in the semi-final of the Canadian Championship. Last year, Vancouver defeating Pacific 3-0 to go on to claim their second title in a row. What will tonight bring? As it is a home and away, then they are at home right now. Pacific, our Christian Jack, is there. KJ, we already saw an earlier matchup between Forge and TFC. The fans were out. Forge fans, tarps off, playing the drums. TFC fans marching up the street with their flares. It was a great atmosphere. What's it like there?
Yeah, it's very special, you know, for somebody who grew up and obviously covered the FA Cup as a teenager to see, you know, smaller clubs go up against bigger clubs and have that opportunity for cup sets and just come to smaller grounds and see, you know, what the Whitecaps have done here coming in yesterday. It's been the talk of the island over the last 24 hours in cafes and restaurants everywhere we go, in newspapers. You can see that the Canadian Premier League is plastered everywhere across. This is a wonderful market, what Pacific have done. They get the Whitecaps again as the 3rd time in the last 4, and obviously some people have made the trip over from Vancouver as well, but honestly just fills my heart with, you know, immense gratitude and joy to see what we're going to see here tonight again as Pacific go up against the mighty Vancouver Whitecaps from MLS.
Yeah, and we have seen some MLS teams falter here against CPL sides. I mean, Vancouver was one of them against Cavalry. Vanni Sartini was not happy after that one. So what areas do you think both these teams are going to be focusing on once that whistle goes?
Yeah, it's interesting because the same thing keeps coming from both managers when I speak to them both on and off the record. And I know Aston Villa's own Ollie Watkins would say it's not how you start a game, it's how you finish a game. Just wanted to get that in there. But trust me, how these teams want to start the game is how they keep talking about it. We heard from Vanni Sartini a little bit earlier. Why are they concerned so much about the opening 20-25 minutes? Because of the momentum shift with both sets of supporters being in the crowd. The last 2 times they've met, we've got the reference points. The Whitecaps last year, they scored 2 goals in the first 20 minutes and killed the tie dead at that moment, and everybody went, they're deflated in this building. So 2 years earlier than that, you know, Pacific scored 2 goals in the first 28 minutes and really took advantage of that tie. So both these managers are understanding the importance of coming out on a very hot night and bringing the intensity and trying to take an early advantage in this one, Andy.
All right, I guess you just reminded me I should give congratulations to all the English fans out there. Moved on to the final of Euros. Anyway, let's move on to the starting 11s of both these squads. KJ, you know who's in them. What are you going to be keeping an eye on?
Well, interesting, as I'm doing my hit with you here, they've just celebrated Kunle Dadaluk as the latest CPL Centurion. He just got his jean jacket. He will make his 100th appearance for the club tonight. So let's talk about him. You know, Kunle Dadaluk is a player that was rested in midweek, as we said on the weekend, as a number of players were. But when he breaks forward tonight, I know the Whitecaps will be looking for someone like Levante Johnson to get in behind and get the pace. Johnson has performed well in this competition. He got his goal last year at York. He got 2 against Calgary, in Calgary against the Cavs earlier this season. He has yet to score in MLS play, but Vanni Sartini told me today that he's expecting another big performance from the 25-year-old from Brampton. So look for that matchup as Kunle Dadaluk breaks forward on the right-hand side. Can Johnson get in behind in those transitional moments as we get a couple of sprinters out here on the flanks in Pacific versus the Whitecaps?
Well, KJ, it does look like it's a great crowd there. Enjoy the match. And if we could get some images of this jean jacket at some point, I just want to see a Canadian tuxedo. That is how you do it. If you're going to honor a player in the CPL for 100 matches, it's got to be the Canadian tuxedo. Well, this was last year. Vancouver, not wanting to have any kind of repeat of 2021, handled business pretty early against Pacific. What do they have in store tonight?
For sport, played with our feet. Funny how lending a hand takes us further together.
Do we really have any choice at all?
Everyone has a choice, and every choice has a consequence.
Which do you choose?
Life's full of tough choices, isn't it?
How do you choose?
Life's better with extra space. Space for family. Space for memories. Space for you. Try 4 weeks free. Sentinel Storage, proud partner of Canada Soccer.
This ultimate mouth-watering moment is brought to you by the big, bold, ultimate taste of Ultimate Chicken Hot Dogs, only from Maple Lodge Farms.
One Soccer Today is back Thursday, 7 p.m. ET, right here on One Soccer, where we talk all things in the world of footy. Excited for that as we welcome you back into our show. We are close to kickoff now in Leg 1 semifinal Canadian Championship. What is happening? Why are you high-fiving each other?
Man, just say what up.
Hang it out. We're having a good night.
That's it. Go ahead,
Great
Andy.
night.
It's a great night. Okay, I just thought I missed something where you guys were like, Okay. What's up, buddy? Let me ask you something. Earlier in the night, we've been here too long. Earlier in the night between Forge and Toronto, we had an agreement. We all agreed that it didn't feel like a classic CPL MLS matchup. That Forge really could take it to TFC, which they ultimately did 2-1. They were victorious. Does this, though, feel a little bit more like a CPL MLS traditional kind of matchup?
Yeah, this is big brother, little brother for me. Big brother being Vancouver Whitecaps, little brother being Pacific FC. But when you're a little brother, I am as well, you can do some of these. You can make life difficult, right? Those little uppercuts. It's about to start for Pacific FC tonight. Just don't concede early. The game was done and dusted last year in the first 15 minutes with 2-0, right? You have to start well. You have to do what they've been doing well this season, which is defending. And then maybe a more, or maybe a hurt, or maybe from set pieces, they can have some joy. But it's all about that start, Wheels.
I don't like your characterization of a CPL MLS match.
Okay.
Again, CPL teams have beat MLS teams the last 3 times they've played.
They have.
So what is a typical CPL MLS match? It's competitive. It's one where MLS teams cannot take it lightly. If Vancouver does not take this seriously and don't come out to play from the start, they'll lose just like they lost at home against Calgary. It's simple as that. This perceived gap between where these Canadian MLS teams are, and check the table, other than Vancouver, they're not doing very well. It's not that big. It just isn't that big. The bigger thing is the checks that are being signed, or maybe the resources, the number of coaches you have on your staff. But in terms of performance in these games, the CPL sides have continually been competitive, just like on the international stage. We as Canadians know we can compete against other top nations across the world. These young Canadian players know they can compete with other players within this pyramid, within this country. So I think it's going to be a game. Vancouver have to come out from the get-go and put their foot down and not take it off.
I genuinely agree with you, Wheels.
So, okay, well, how about this then? Pacific obviously is looking across the field, and they're seeing a 22-year-old goalkeeper in net for Vancouver who last played an MLS game in 2022. How much can they take advantage of that?
They should shoot early, but again, the reason why I think that Pacific is the gap is a bit wide between Pacific and Vancouver FC is because of them going forward. Whitecaps can go forward, can score goals. Pacific FC struggle to do that. I don't think you can play MLS side this day and age and not go and attack and make sure you put your foot over the neck. They don't do that to teams.
Isaac Boehmer did play in the Can Champ this year for the Whitecaps. A good young goalkeeper, was with Pacific a couple years back on loan, only played 1 game. So he's still a very young Canadian goalkeeper. I will harp on this because I ripped into TFC about this. Vancouver Whitecaps are starting 3 Canadians again tonight. 3, the bare minimum, and 1's their backup goalkeeper because they feel like they have to. It's the same thing with Gavin over Johnson. We need more Canadian players playing within these MLS clubs. We just heard Jesse Marsh talk about young players needing minutes and doing all these things. Well, the MLS clubs need to do their part as well, and that's coming from the MLS national team head coach. It's disappointing to me. I understand that Adekubi's hurt. I understand that Ali Ahmed's with the Canadian men's national team, but is that all you have? Like Bilal Houbuni's on the bench. He's not getting a look. Some young players that are playing with the Whitecaps too, they're not getting a look. That's a big disappointment for me. You look at the other side of the equation, Canadians. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sam Adekubi, as we know for Vancouver Whitecaps, still dealing with that injury. Ali Ahmed with international duty with Canada for Vancouver Whitecaps. It's a rematch. 3rd time in 4 years, these 2 teams are going head-to-head in the Canadian Championship. Pacific FC hosting Vancouver Whitecaps, but the first time they're playing in a home and away. Fans are ready. You're ready at home. We're going to have kickoff next here on One Soccer as Leg 1 semifinal TELUS Canadian Championship. Now that's a hairdo continues on One Soccer.
The TELUS Canadian Championship on One Soccer is brought to you by Toyota.
Toyota's electrified vehicles are for everyone. Every chauffeur, snack connoisseur, every scenery soaker, practical joker, every road tripper, toe dipper, every 9-to-5er, every long driver. Starting over 20 years ago with the Prius, we now have the largest lineup of electrified vehicles in Canada because this journey belongs to everyone.
The TELUS Canadian Championship on One Soccer is brought to you by CIBC.
CanadaSoccerStore.com is the official home for the widest range of Canada Soccer licensed product, match jerseys, and fanwear.
From the edge of your seat or up on your feet, let them hear you cheer.
The TELUS Canadian Championship on One Soccer is brought to you by Allstate.
Sutton, Nash scores, and the goal! What a goal! Greetings from breathtaking British Columbia, our next port of call in the Battle of the North. Nigel Reid in the booth alongside Canada Soccer Hall of Famer Jim Brennan, welcoming you to a sold-out Starlight Stadium in Langford on Vancouver Island, where Pacific FC hosts the Whitecaps in the semi-finals of the TELUS Canadian Championship.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée, tes plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for
A beautiful summer's evening at Starlight Stadium in Langford, 24 Celsius, sunny, light winds from the southwest. The Tridents aiming to trip up the Caps in the opening leg of the semi